Hello everyone. In the last video, we have identified the elements using the below XPaths. So we have seen various methods like using the tag name and the tag names like input tag we have used, label we have used, anchor tag we have used star also, we have used image tag also. And apart from these basics, as you already know, the basic syntax is two forward slashes, tag name, and then at the rate attribute is equal to the value. So you can make use of contains also. So using that also, we have seen how to recognize the element. So when you are giving the two forward slashes star, it will go and check in all the tags irrespective of a specific tag. So now what I wanted to do is I have discussed the same thing in the previous video also for or and. So how are we going to do that here? So let us say you have this application and I have two buttons here, login and submit button. I wanted to identify these two. So generally what we will do, we will be taking the type property and then what is the value, you will be writing it submit. So if I have to write that two forward slashes star and then you will be writing at the rate type is equal to submit. So you have to make sure that you are giving the correct name. Just select the element, copy the text and then put it here. And I want to identify along with this, I want to identify one more property also. So let's say if you give only type is equal to submit, it is identifying only one element. Now, if I wanted to make use of one more property that is or, and I will take type is equal to submit and name is equal to btn reset. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take at the rate name is equal to btn reset. So in this case, see what is going to happen. So now once you write btn is equal to reset at the rate name is equal to, so it should identify two elements. See, one of two. So when I say one of two, or is my operator here. That means either it it will take the element if this property is true, the first property, or the second property. The first property is looking for type is equal to submit, where the element is login element, and the second property, the name is equal to btn reset, that is for the second element. That's the reason it is showing two elements. But if you use and statement, in that case both the attributes values must be correct. That means the element should have type as submit and also it should have the name as btn reset. So we don't have such kind of element because type is equal to submit and name is equal to btn login. We have written type is equal to submit and name is equal to btn login, but type is equal to reset and btn reset. That's the reason if you wanted to identify using and, you have to take the correct name property also when using and. So if you use this, then it will automatically identify the element uniquely. Similarly, if you wanted to do it the other one, you have to take type as reset and then name is equal to btn reset. If you give that, then it will identify the element uniquely. So this way you will be making use of and or operators within the XPath. So this is very, very important. Sometimes people may ask you, using and using or, can you display two elements at a time? So in that case, you have to make use of this syntax and you should be in a position to display that. So this is another example. And after that, what we have is we have one more thing called starts with. So that means if we have a particular label which is starting with something, for example, if you see user ID must not be blank. So if I have to identify this element, see the label ID is equal to message23. So what I wanted to do is if the message starts with MESSAGE, so this is the message for this particular element. Similarly, if you see the other one, message 18, if I say it starts with message mean, it should identify two elements. So let us do, go and identify label, and then you are going to have this bracket starts hyphen with, and then at the rate id. The id name is, what is that value? MESSAGE, single quotes, and then quotes, and then parenthesis you have to close, and then square bracket also you have to close. See, there are two elements. One is message 123, message 23, and if you hit enter one more time, it will go to the second element, that is message 18. So this is the purpose of using starts with keyword. Using this also, you should be able to recognize the element. So this is also very, very important. And another one, you will have one more thing. Okay, let me take it here. And then you will have one more thing called text function. So text function in XPath identification. So how are we going to do that? So let us say if you go here, I wanted to identify this user ID. So now go here and select this, and see this TD align right, the text name is user ID. So there is a text which is aligned to your text box. So user ID text I wanted to identify. So what I am going to do is I am going to go here in the XPath two forward slashes, and then what is the tag name? TD. So how do I know TD as a tag name? Select this, TD is a tag name. So TD is my tag name, and then square bracket, and then your function is text function. And then when I say built-in function, you should have parenthesis, start and end parenthesis, and then you should be able to write the value user and then id. So user id single quote. So where you are getting this value from? So you are getting the value from here. So you just make sure that you are writing the right value, then you should be able to make use of the text function. So this is how you will be making use of text function and identify the element using XPath methods. So these are all some of the important things which will be asked as part of your interview as well. But in the real time scenario, when you're working in a project, you may not use all of these unless you are not able to identify the unique item or unique element from the regular properties. Okay, so we will see those during our course, and we will move on to the next type of elements for the XPath. So we have one more concept called XPath access methods. So when I say access methods, you're trying to identify the elements which are dynamic in nature. So the purpose of these access methods are used to identify the dynamic elements or some of the complex elements where we are not able to identify them easily. Then we may go and identify using these XPath access methods. So there are various methods available, out of which one is following is one of the method, and we will have there are many various things we have. We will see all of them. So following, preceding, and you also have following sibling, following sibling, and also you have parent, child, and self, ancestor, descendant. So these are all some of the access methods where you will be using in your XPath identification. So remember guys, this may not be used regularly in your day-to-day project work, but whenever it is required, you should be in a position to make use of this and understand what are all these things and how we are going to identify the elements using this. Okay, let us go and understand how we are going to identify using these access methods. First one, following. The name itself says, here it is preceding. The name itself says following means you are trying to identify the elements which are followed by something. What is that followed? So let us say if I go to this box, so I wanted to show you first what is the user ID. So see, user ID input type is equal to text, name is equal to user ID, and if you see password password input type also input type is equal to password and name is equal to password, and then the next one here also input type is equal to submit. Okay, so for every element whatever we have seen, the tag is input. Okay, so if I make use of the tag as input, okay, and if I try to identify the attribute type, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to identify the elements which are followed by the type is equal to text. When I say type is equal to text, so the first one, that is type is equal to text. Next one, type is equal to password. Next one, type is equal to submit. Next one, type is equal to reset. So that means if I say that type is equal to text is followed by password, this log submit and reset. See, type is equal to submit and reset. So that means how many elements will come? 3 elements will come if I use that property. So now what I am going to do is 2 forward slashes star square bracket @ type is equal to, so which tag you wanted to, which property you wanted to do? Text property. Text is the value of that property, that is type is equal to text square bracket close, and then you're trying to see following which is following. You have to identify, you have to give two colons, two times colon, and then what is the tag? Input is my tag name. Give input and then square bracket and then 1. So if you give 1, whatever the element which is followed by type is equal to text, immediately that will get identified, that is your password. If I don't give this, there will be 3 elements. What are those 3 elements? See, the first one got highlighted when it is at one place. When you press enter, it will go to the second element, that is btn login. So when you click on next, it will go to the third element, that is reset element. So hope you are clear on what is following. So when I say type is equal to text, that is followed by this password, login and reset. Now if I change, instead of this, if I give type is equal to password. So see here, password if I have, I will be getting only 2 elements. So in that case, you go here, instead of text, if you give password, see, you will have 2 elements. So those 2 elements are login and reset. So this is very, very important and very, very easy, guys. If you want to identify the specific item, you just give that input tag, give a square bracket, and give whichever element you want to identify, you give the number. If it is first element 1, if it is second element 2, you have to give. So this is how you will be identifying the following, using following you will access method, you will be able to recognize the element. So we will see preceding also here. Okay, so preceding means, following means after that element, preceding means before that element. So if I make use of preceding, what is going to happen? So instead of following, let me make it this one. See here, after password I have two types. Okay, so after uh, password I have 2 elements here. If I give preceding for the same preceding, what is going to happen? See, you have only one element, that means before password only one, that is preceding. If at all you give this one, let us say if you give this login, that is a submit, if you give, there will be 2 elements. So let's try and give submit, and then you will be able to see 2 elements there. You got it? So hope this is very easy, guys. So you just need to understand how to write the syntax. One is following and another one is preceding. Preceding means before elements will come for that particular element or tag whatever you are taking. Following means after that particular element, whatever the elements are available, those will be displayed. So this is how you will be able to identify the following and preceding elements. So similarly, if I take following again, I am going to show you one more thing called following sibling. When I say sibling, sibling means for the same parent. So if you look at these 2 elements, these 2 elements, elements are on the same frame. So what it is going to, these two elements are at the same frame. Let's say if you see these elements, these two elements are inside TD. Okay, so TR, TD, these things we are going to talk in terms of our table definition. We are going to learn that table is the main tag. Under the table is this table TD data. TD stands for T data, test data, table data, you can say. So these two elements are of the same parent. So in that case, what we are going to do is, if you are going to have following hyphen sibling, if I write following hyphen sibling input, if I write, if for submit the sibling is reset. If I give reset, if I give reset, the sibling is your, you don't have any sibling for this. After login only you have it. That's the reason it is 0. If I give submit, then you will be having a following sibling. Clear? Any questions? I hope you understand what is the uh, purpose of using following sibling and all. Okay. So now we are going to understand what is a parent tag. So when I say parent, first you need to understand what are all the various things available, various access methods available in the XPath. So let us have a look here. In the XPath methods, we have seen these items. We have seen the following, we have seen following sibling, we have seen. So preceding sibling also the same. So when I say, if I write a reset, you write it as preceding. So if you write preceding sibling, then it should recognize the preceding. Then it should recognize the previous sibling, which is the login one. So like that, you will be able to recognize the following sibling and preceding sibling also. And the next one is parent, child, self, ancestor, and descendants. So when I ask you that, so you should understand, first of all, a parent will have child, and then ancestors are like for people who are the grandparents or four grandparents, those people will be called as ancestors. That means, for example, for your child, your parents will be ancestor, their parents also ancestors. Descendants means for your ancestors, like for your parents. So you are here, for your parents, your childs will be descendants. So that is the major difference between ancestor and descendants. It is very simple, guys. Parents, that means if you are there and you have kids, those will be your kids. And your kids, if there is a son and there is a boy, those two are called siblings. Okay. And now, to your parents, for you there will be parents, right? So your parents will be ancestors to your child's or grandparents. You can call it as grandparents, or they can be also be called as ancestors also. Your parents are great grandparents or ancestors to your child's. Similarly, your parents and your parents, for them, your child's will be descendants. So this is the hierarchy you need to remember. Now we are going to see one by one. So how we are going to identify the parent and all. So we are going to see now. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to take one example. Let us say you take any of the page. Let's say if I take these two, let's say I will type the same thing, these two elements. So input type is equal to submit, input type is equal to reset. So this is your uh, element, correct? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write, I have taken the first one, that is type is equal to reset. I'll be writing what is the parent for this parent, and you have to give two colons, and then what is the tag name? Input. Okay, so if you write input, input or td, input is the tag, correct? Yeah, input, and then give the first one. Is it getting identified? Yeah, no, 1 minute. Let me make it as td. Yeah, so td is the parent, right? That's what we have discussed. Sorry guys. So td is the parent. If I give td of 1 means the first child. If I give td of uh, 2 means second child will be recognized. That means whenever you are trying to identify, you need to make sure that where you are identifying the element. Okay, so see here. So td, your parent is this, and if you wanted to identify the parent of td, so how we are going to do? Two forward slashes, parent, and then what is this parent? Tr. You got it? See, you have to continue to write and see in these two elements are in this tag, that is td. So this element is in parent, this for this it is parent. So like that you will be able to identify the parent tags. So this is very, very important guys. You need to make sure that whatever the elements are inside, so that will be its parent. For td, the parent is this. So now if you talk about these two elements, this is parent. So you can call it as grandparent. Now similarly, I will show you how we are going to identify the self. So when I say self, I wanted to identify using a self tag. Let me take it as parent as a side. We'll go to child also. Before that, we will complete child. So if I wanted to identify this one password on its own tag, so in this case, how we are going to write it? So what we are going to do is two forward slashes and then star square bracket type is equal to at the rate type, right? At the rate type is equal to password quotes square bracket. So you got the element. Now two forward slashes self. If I write, then you will be having the input type is self, the tag type is input. Then also you will be able to recognize. You may get a question, sir, why we need to write this self method we are getting with this also? You can do. Sometimes the method may not be available at that time, you may have to go with self, but generally we don't encounter that situation. But most of the cases is always only the interview question, like how are you going to identify the element using this particular self access method input. If you write, automatically you will be able to recognize the element. So this is how you will be able to recognize the element of this particular uh, self method. So now what we are going to do is we are going to understand how we are going to identify the child elements. So when I say child, so what you are going to do, we will talk about the same elements, like say this is my element. If I go here, instead of taking these two, type is equal to, so let me take this, go up, let me identify this page. So if you see the table we have, and then you have, so you should understand whether the table has a method where it has child elements or not. Okay, so here we have two child elements. So one is this one and another one is this one. But for this you will be able to directly make use of this child. Okay, So what I am going to do is I'll just try to identify this child at the rate. There is no common property. So what I'm going to do is I'll take some other example, because here you may not be able to get more familiarity with this, but I'll cover this in some other place. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some other elements where it has lot of elements. See here, under testing, if you see, if I wanted to identify this element as a child element, the list elements. So when I say child, here it is very easy for you to recognize also. So when you go and identify, see here, there is a class menu. Under that, Java Technologies is the ID. Under that, these are all the childs available. That means I'll be taking this one and then go here, two forward slashes, star, square bracket, at the rate, ID is equal to Java Technologies, whatever it is, and then close it, and then two forward slashes, child child, and then two times square brackets. And what is that child elements? All these child elements are with one tag, that is li. So if you write like this, see there are 93 elements. See, press enter and you will be able to see the element getting identified. Okay, so each element, whatever the li element is there, so those child elements you will be able to recognize. Say for example, if you wanted to identify some 20th element, so give 20, then automatically the 20th element will get recognized. Okay, so that's how you will be able to recognize the elements with the number. If at all you wanted to specify any number also, you can do that. Okay, so let's say, see the second number. So second number, so 20, if it is there, 20 also will come. If the 20 is not defined, then it will not come. So you need to understand. See, there are only 11 elements. Now if you see, if I make it out, and if I have to write 93, so you will be writing, let us say here, how many, 1 2 3 4